Hello, guys, and I want to start with my confession. I love our community on this channel a lot because of the questions that you ask. They are very deep, they are very thought provoking, and they bring me a lot of emotions when I think how to answer them. And the one that I've picked for our conversation today was quite difficult, even though it seems quite simple. What was the happiest and the scariest moment in my life during these 3 years of the full-scale war? And at first I started thinking how to answer it in a more classical manner, attracting your attention to some important moments in the history of this Russian war against Ukraine. And then somehow in my thoughts, in my emotions, in my memories, I've returned back to the essence of this channel, where in the center is this very human, very personal experience of life in times of the big war. I won't be able to give just one answer because there are a lot of moments that were really scary and a lot of moments that brought me joy. Remember to check that video where I discuss the feelings of guilt and joy during war on this channel. I consider it quite important, and I was really happy to get your feedback that it helped many of you to look differently on your situations in life. Because once again, war is a big tragedy, war is a big challenge, but there are other tragedies and challenges in your lives, even if you are not in Ukraine. So I hope my experience will be useful in the multitude of your experiences and situations. I'm very grateful for that. So let's start with the worst, scariest moments during these years of the Russian war against Ukraine, and we will finish with the optimistic ones. So maybe I will surprise you by telling that one of the worst moments of the most intense in this negative meaning was somewhere before the war. It was at the beginning of February when all the news, all the intelligence services reported about the future attack of Russia on Ukraine. And this is also quite a dark period in my part of the world because of snow, because of sunlight, lack of sunlight. These are also the days of commemoration of the Heavenly Hundred, the sacrifice of Ukraine during the Revolution of Dignity. And in general, all these vibes in February, they are quite dark. And 2022 was also bad because in December 2021, my mom was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. And it was just like still this period of very, very dark vibration around me, in me. And I remember returning back from one of these commemoration events about the Revolution of Dignity and the Heavenly Hundred, and thinking about my mom, thinking about the potential war. It still seemed impossible, but like the feeling inside, you always know when something bad is coming. And I wanted to order coffee, and I entered a cafe, and a waiter came up to me, and I was okay. And I could not say a word. And I ran out of the cafe. It was not because I was just like that desperate in a moment, but perhaps the stress inside me, this anxiety, caused something I cannot explain, because fortunately I have not experienced that since then. But I could not speak, like in these movies. And you know how much I talk with you. And that was a very rare moment, I hope unique in my life, when I could not make a sentence. I felt like my larynx are paralyzed, my vocal cords are not working, and that gives you a tremendous anxiety attack or something when you think you will lose the ability to breathe, like your articulatory organs are not working. And I went out on the street. Perhaps the waiter was kind of surprised, and I tested and I just like said something and I felt like I can speak. But since then, I don't make fun of those, films that put in the center a person that lost the ability to speak because of some tremendous trauma or stress. I experienced that for a couple of minutes, and that was very, very, very ugly. It's just like you don't control it. And that was how bad I felt. And the war, the full-scale war, has not yet started. Then, of course, the first day of war was awful, but I share more about it in my other video on this channel. You see how our archive is growing, and I hope it can be useful for some of you, not in your everyday life. Remember to subscribe, that means a lot to me and all of us on the channel. But I hope it will be like an archive when you want, I don't know, to write a book or to film a story, but not for your personal life. So check that video about the first day of war, which was also very emotional. Then I was vlogging actively already then. It was when I was for the first time in Kyiv after the start of the full-scale war, and it was an air raid alert, and I was in the elevator that has to take me to floor 22 because that's where some of my relatives live. It's not like very relaxing when you live on the 22nd floor. It's quite beautiful during a normal period, but during wartime, blackouts, and I was in that elevator that's stuck. I was not alone. I can tell you that elevators are my favorite places, and typically I go upstairs by myself because I love fitness. You don't know that much about me, but I'm just like a super fan. And I felt like very frightened because it's always uncomfortable in the elevator. If you are a bit claustrophobic, and all of us are a bit, and then it is also that you realize it's an air raid alert, and I had this image like everyone will be saved and I'm stuck in the elevator and I won't, and it's just like the 22nd floor. But everything was okay, and surprisingly later I've learned that this elevator stuff, where the elevator is considered to be one of the safest inside buildings. Still, I don't know what happens to elevator, and I don't want to. So that was just like personally scary for me. You see, I'm picking this very personal experiences. Let me know if that's what you want to hear, because if you want me to focus more on this global national perspectives, I can switch back to that because that's also part of my life. Then perhaps one moment was a bit of fear and anger because it was just before my business trip last year to the south of France. I had an NGO project running in Aix-en-Provence, and I had to fly there, and I was super excited. Later, I discovered the beautiful city of Nîmes there and the south of France, and it was so beautiful. I've shared with you some photos on Instagram. Remember to follow me there. And I was very excited. You know, you cannot fly out of Ukraine because it's about the need to get to the closest airport. For me, it's in Poland. And you don't have airplanes in the skies of Ukraine, only combat and hopefully Ukrainian, but you have to travel to Poland, and it's quite difficult. The itinerary is always difficult. That's why I often skip a lot of business trips, because they ruin my other rhythm of work. And it's not like I can travel to Lviv or Kyiv as it was before. I have to travel to cross the border, go through the customs, and it's super time, energy consuming. And quite often you say no to a brief trip just because it will take you ages. So I was preparing, and I was just like, you have to leave in a couple of hours and you have to pack everything. And then you have a plan, I don't know, to shower yourself, to get the clothes that you want, like last minute preparations. But I'm a girl and there are lots of them. And I'm going to the south of France from Ukraine for a week. And a serious Russian attack on my city started. You know that my city is semi-safe, and it gets attacked like every half a year. And it happened on exactly the day when I had to leave. And it was no electricity, no internet, no water, because water depends on electricity. Check my video about blackouts. It will tell you more about how these electricity outages influence everything. And then you are worried to leave your flat because you don't know, did you turn everything off? Because it adds super stress. Plus, you have to call a taxi to go to a railway station, and you hear explosions. And for you to understand this level of madness and abnormalcy in Ukraine, you think like, oh my God, according to this air raid alert application, there are no more drones in close proximity. And literally I could reach in this 10 minutes a railway station, but they are not working, these taxi drivers. So that's how we live. And I was disappointed. I was very saddened to learn that one person was killed in the result of that attack. And for you to know all this violence of Russia, it was 85-year-old man who was riding his bicycle, and the drone exploded next to him. So that was a good man who lived a long life, and he was able to ride a bicycle. He was okay, and he was killed by that Russian drone in Lutsk. That's what they are doing to us. And of course, there were lots of other moments. Watch my video about the sounds of war, because there I share a lot of such scary moments, and maybe hearing the sounds of war can tell you more, can help you feel more about this very unusual and very painful times in the life of my country. But I don't know, the worst one, it was not scary. It was a moment of desperation that I will never heal. Like with war and with some important losses in your life, you come to accept that there will be things that you will never heal, forget, or get over. You live with that. That was the late evening when my mother died. She died at home 20 minutes before her birthday. Her birthday was on the 21st of January, and she never liked it, by the way. She didn't like January and kind of escaped 20 minutes before it. And I needed the services, that prepare everything to take her. And I had like 20 minutes or half an hour before the curfew. And this awful hurry in this tremendously painful moment for a person who so much loves. A mother is something that I can see in some of my bad, moments. how they take her away in this extreme hurry before midnight. But let's switch to something positive, because war makes your emotions very, very strong, and you feel joy and passion and even the taste of food way stronger than during your ordinary days. And I remember a feeling of a weird joy, not just like happiness, but this satisfaction at the very start of war, when I've realized that no one is giving up, that the way I feel about the need to stand against this Russian evil, everybody feels. My boring neighbors, my tired colleagues, like that people, no matter how old or young they are, healthy or ill, brave or kind of weak, they all feel united and they all want to fight against Russia. And by the way, this feeling is same strong right now. This is what surprises many. And this is why lots of these demotivating speeches from the new White House will never demotivate us. I'm sorry, we've seen worse moments. And we know what Russia is. We know that to end this war, we need to defeat and demilitarize this enemy. So that was perhaps a feeling of relief and the feeling of great gratitude to the people. And it gave me this feeling of unity with my country. You know, I start my vlogs and I say I'm Ukrainian and I'm from Ukraine. Before this war, I've always felt Ukrainian and I loved my culture, but I would never put it in front of anything. I would say like I'm a cultural manager, or I love writing for the newspaper, or I don't know, I'm a woman, but it would never be Ukrainian number one. And it gave me this feeling of tremendous unity with my people. And that's why when I say my people, I don't feel weird about that. I do feel a part of something bigger. We all do. That's real. That's moral, spiritual, and very physical love that you experience on a daily basis. And the more they destroy and betray you, to some extent, the more you value, you feel the importance of that. Okay, we turned these videos into my psychotherapy sessions. I hope you don't mind that. Let me know what resonates with you. I read all the comments here and it's very, very important for me personally. Another feeling of joy when Kherson was liberated. That was the only regional center that Russians managed to occupy after 2014. And it is a very beautiful Ukrainian city. And I knew a lot of people from Kherson, and I knew how much they suffered and how much they hoped, and they were liberated. And all of the Ukrainian territories will be liberated. This will be the moment of the greatest joy. Because without this justice, normalcy, peace on the planet is impossible. And you see all that with conflicts arising everywhere, in the Middle East, in India, Pakistan, Trump speaking about the annexation of Greenland. It is all because of Putin. No, it's not because of the Ukrainian resilience. We protect the old world order. We protect, this international law. Help us protect it, save the project that worked successfully. And Russia wants to ruin everything, and other authoritarian regimes are observing. So I was very happy to see people meeting Ukrainian soldiers, people out on the streets, people who were fighting against the occupants, risking their lives. That was a very happy moment for me. Also, my very first trip to Kyiv since the start of war. It was spring. And once again, it is still quite a gray period in the Eastern Europe. And I felt love. When you come to the city. You travel through this quite torn and destroyed suburbs. You see broken bridges, burnt cars, and you see vibrant, beautiful city full of cars, full of children, full of shops, full of coffees. And you feel that, once I've used this metaphor, and I'm sure I'm not the one to invent it, but I so desperately love to describe Kyiv as a beautiful monster, because it's very beautiful and it's a bit of a monster. It's a bit of these different constructions, vibrant, it's super big. For example, when I'm in Warsaw, it's so beautiful, but it's so relaxed, so lazy, so good for sleeping, walking, bird watching. And Kyiv is different. Kyiv is all about hustle and bustle, just like dazzling 20s. And it has bullets. And its heart beats stronger than ever. And those of you who visit it fall in love with it. And it's tasty and it's loud. And I do feel joy in Kyiv. I feel so proud of it because the heart of my country beats there. And that's... I spend a lot of time in Kyiv. I don't live there full time. I could, but I'm getting a bit tired of it sometimes. And I'm gentle to myself. I love sleeping. I love fitness. I love working. Writing is good for me in my home, but it's just like two loves of your life. Well, and I feel joy when I speak with people. I hear their stories and I see their resilience and how they rediscover their history, their culture. I'm so grateful and happy when people want to learn Ukrainian, when people want to learn more Ukrainian books, history, and so on. It is a great, great, great inspiration for me. I'm sure there were more scary moments. I'm sure there were more joyful moments, but these are the ones that came to my mind today. And I was very grateful to share them with you. I am very, very grateful that during this very challenging times, I have our community, you have our community, we have our community on this channel, on the main channel. I don't say this is not main, this is new, main and new. And sending you all hugs and gratitude. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. Remember to join me if you're new, and let me know in the comments below what are the other topics you would like me to discuss in the next videos. Slava Ukraini!